So you're able to turn $20,000 into $2 million just because you were smart enough to say, hey, let me invest it in something that is going to grow. Because as athletes, you need to take this NIL spotlight, whether you're in high school, college, pro, you need to take the spotlight that's on you now. We all know who Allen Iverson is, the AI, the answer, right? In his career, he made, both on contract deals and endorsements, over $250 million. Now, Mike Tyson was supposedly made over $400 million. Jason Tatum as well. This man lived the life that he felt as if he wanted, and there's nothing wrong with that. In terms of Jordan, now Jordan is obviously the extreme, right? He had the ability to really take his money and buy an NBA team, which is and also have a signature shoe line that skyrocketed and was truly the first of its kind. Welcome to another edition of Athletes Wisdom Podcast, where we go behind the jerseys of the athletes to understand who they are as a person and how they're able to build their brand beyond the game. All right. Today's episode, we're going over how to understand how to be both an athlete and an entrepreneur, because it's not just about being one. It's about having the versatility to do both. OK, so let's go ahead and get into it. In order to understand how to actually be a successful both athlete and entrepreneur, or athletepreneur, you can make up whatever word you want nowadays, you must first understand the basis of what an entrepreneur is. You're already an athlete, so I don't have to tell you that, right? But an entrepreneur is essentially someone who is creating a product or service to basically sell that product or service to whoever the highest bidder is or the most common bidder is. All right. Now, what are the benefits of being an entrepreneur while being an athlete, especially in the collegiate space while NIL is still in play, right? NIL, in my personal opinion, is a spotlight that adds extra eyes and extra attention on you that might not otherwise have been on you if you weren't playing that sport, right? Now, that doesn't mean that you haven't built a brand enough to garner that attention, or that you're not skillful enough to garner that attention. But while NIL is in play, if you're able to take those eyes, put it on your business, and then convert those eyes into sales, that is the best way to build your legacy beyond the game. Here at Athletes Wisdom Podcast, that is our number one goal, right? To help you understand how to build something that transcends where you are currently and transcends sports, and even gives you something to build a legacy down the road. So the first thing you want to understand is, what is the benefits of being an entrepreneur, or essentially operating as an LLC or S Corp when it comes to operating in this athlete space? So to break it down in simple terms, you can either get an LLC if you're making under $50,000, or if you're making over $50,000 to $100,000, I would recommend getting an S Corp. Now, I'll go into the slight specifics in a second, but I do want to make a disclaimer that I am not a tax professional. So as far as the tax implications, I want to make sure that you talk to your own financial advisor and get the information that is best for you and where you're going. But when it comes to an LLC, both of them, honestly, the reason why it's so beneficial is because you can essentially have whatever brand or company, let's just say you're operating in the NIL endorsement space, getting brand partnerships from these companies. You can have them pay your company instead of you. Now, there's something called the Tax Cut and Jobs Act. And essentially what this states is you can write off up to 20% of your income with this act. Now, I want to specify up to, right? Because you can't just write off any and everything that you please. Now, the reason why I say it depends on if it's an LLC or S Corp is because if you made over $50,000 at $50,000 to $100,000 plus range, that is where you want to get an S Corp, because it offers you a bit more tax advantages. And then, like I said, the more money you make, it's just more protection, so on and so forth, right? So the first three steps that you're going to do when actually crafting and creating your business, obviously you want to have a name in mind, right? That's the first thing you want to do. But then from there, you want to do the research to make sure that the name is available, right? So the first thing you want to search for is the USPTO, United States Patent and Trade Office. So this USPTO.gov. The reason why you want to go ahead and go there first is because a lawyer told me this once. You don't want to build a house on land you don't own, just like you don't want to build a brand on intellectual property you don't own, right? So whether that's trademark, patents, copyright, whatever the case is. Now, the next thing you want to make sure is, like I said, the USPTO. Now you want to make sure you're checking your Secretary of State, your local Secretary of State office, to make sure that that name is also available. Because like I said, I'm based in Georgia, so I could have a name purchased in Georgia, but it might not be purchased in whatever state you're in. The third step you want to make sure you're doing is you want to search to make sure that the domain name and all social media is available for that particular business name that you want. Now, why do you want to do this? Just like how you're checking the USPTO and the Secretary of State office to make sure it's available. So the next reason why being an entrepreneur and an athlete is both beneficial is because, and I'm gonna give you a few examples about this. The reason why it's beneficial is because it offers you the opportunity to build a brand, but also while building that brand, you're simultaneously building your business's brands as well. When you built a personal brand so much to a point where people hear about you and they want to participate or support or buy anything you tell them to, right? Now that is the benefit of being an entrepreneur in the same sense, because you built a reputable brand in your personal life or in your athletic life. I want to give you all a quick tip. If you don't know what business to start off, pick your name and put consulting after it, or pick your last name and pick consulting after it. But make sure it is a somewhat professional sounding business, right? And another tip that I want to go ahead and give to you all is, or another piece of advice on why you need to make sure that you're building them both simultaneously is, and I'll give you a few examples on this, right? When you're understanding how athletics work, because the overall athletic space is like a business, right? So when you're understanding how the athletics work and business works, you start seeing how they overlap and how you can use your current skill sets to help you succeed in business. So I'll give you an example. Shaq. We all know who Shaq is. Okay? If you don't, boop, he's there on the screen. But Shaq, right? Nearly 2 decades, he was able to earn $292 million. So let's, for the sake of numbers, for those who ain't good out there, let's round it up to $300 million. Now, Shaq stopped playing about 10 years ago. So it ain't like he's been still getting paid by the NBA. TNT don't count, okay? That's separate. So let's just say I need $20,000 to get to the next step. You as an athlete, let's just say you made $100,000 that year and you have that extra 20. For one, make sure you're paying attention to taxes. Got to pay them taxes. Uncle Sam want his money. All right. Now, I'm not going to tell you what percent of equity to ask for simply because it depends on you. It depends on the person you're obviously giving the money to, how much the company is worth already, and so many other factors that play into that. Right. So make sure you're obviously talking to professionals who are going to rightfully help you in these, like lawyers and people who have done these before. Just because you were smart enough to say, hey, instead of me spurging this money right now, let me invest it in something that is going to grow. Right? Because as athletes, you need to take this NIL spotlight, whether you're in high school, college, pro, you need to take the spotlight that's on you now and the revenue that you're getting now and plan for your future. Now, I'll give you a few other examples of both good and bad athletes as far as money management and why being and having that entrepreneurship acumen and knowledge is going to help. All right. We all know who Allen Iverson is. The AI, the answer, right? In his career, he made both on contract deals and endorsements over $250 million. Now, I do want you to keep in mind, take half of that away, right? So technically 125 is about what he walked away with, but his current net worth is only supposedly $1 million. It is very easy to spend money. Okay, it's very easy to spend $100,000, $1 million. AI made $250 million over his career. Shaq is worth $400 million. AI is worth $1 million, right? So you have to understand that it doesn't matter about the money you make. It matters about the money you're able to keep and then grow, which is why making sure you're an entrepreneur is going to give you that best success. Think about it in terms of Jordan. Now, Jordan is obviously the extreme, right? He had the ability to really take his money and buy an NBA team, which is and also have a signature shoe line. I don't know if anybody saw the MJ movie. He almost didn't sign with Nike. He apparently hated Nike. Like he was dang near disgusted and did not want to work with them in any way, shape, or form. But obviously, look at him now, right? He has this entire line that's slightly separate in a sense from Nike just because he recognized the opportunity and took advantage. But then more than that, he started learning the business acumen himself and surrounded himself with people who are also like-minded in that business way. So another few examples I want to make sure you understand is Mike Tyson, right? Jason Tatum. Those are the last two examples I kind of want to go over here, right? Now, why do I want to go over these? Mike Tyson was supposedly made over $400 million in his career, and both as endorsements and boxing is called purse, okay? But as far as the purse money as well, right? He was able to accrue over $400 million and he's only worth $10 million. million. And I'm sure a lot of that is the smarter investments he's been making recently, right? So to the flip side of Jason Tatum, he supposedly has not spent a single dollar of any NBA contract he's gotten since he's been in the league. He supposedly has not spent a single dollar, and I honestly believe it, of any contract, like game contract money since he's been in the league. Only endorsement money, right? Now, obviously, that's still like, he's still getting paid in endorsements, but the mindset he has is, look, I'm going to use this money to grow. All right. Because like I said earlier, it's not about how much money you make. It's how much money you can keep and grow. He's going to use that money to grow, put in other investments, right? Save for emergency funds, put in his kids' fund or whatever the case is, right? And recently he got a $300 million contract as far as game contract, right? So the overall message I want you all to take away from this is be an athletepreneur. Don't just be an athlete and don't just be an entrepreneur, because one day you'll only have the choice to be one. And I promise you, it won't be the athlete. So if you haven't already, go ahead and make sure you like, subscribe, comment down below what you thought and what business you're going to start for yourself today. Let's go.